My first line is please take your seats, but look what you've already done. This is incredible. I'm Jacob Moore. I'm the executive director of the Architectural League. And I'm so pleased that you've joined us for this President's Medal dinner in honor of Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown. The President's Medal is the League's highest honor, which is bestowed on individuals to recognize extraordinary achievements in architecture, urbanism, art, design, and the environment. And extraordinary achievements are all the more laudable in what are indeed extraordinary times for our planet, for our country, and for our professions. I'm proud to be part of an organization that, learning lessons from Elise and Jeffrey, insists on the power and potential of architecture to meaningfully improve the lives of people around the world. And I'm also thankful because the League aims to do this modestly, without ego, always conscious of the fact that in order for architecture to do its best work, it needs to be porous, self-critical, curious, and always open to change. That vulnerability is never more potent than in incredibly uncertain times such as these, where institutions of democratic governance are being devalued, critical discourse being suppressed, history erased, and growing, diversifying international communities of students and professionals put under enormous pressure. But in the face of those challenges, I'm so happy to report that our community remains strong. The withdrawal of NEA funds earlier this month has led at the League not just to a retooling of project budgets, but it's also prompted more regular and reliable coordination in solidarity with peer organizations, many of whom are here tonight in the city and beyond its borders. Everybody's really stepping up, in other words. And more to the point for this evening, I couldn't be more excited and proud to share that with all of your support, as of last week, we surpassed our highest stretch goal for this event. In other words, tonight's event is going to be more impactful on the League's work this coming year than we ever even let ourselves imagine. So thank you very, very much. All of this, idealism, curiosity, criticality, sustained commitment, especially in times of need, speaks directly to the most wonderful characteristics of tonight's President's Medal recipients, Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown, that we seek to emulate. There's so much more I could say, but I'll leave it to our distinguished speakers, whose bios are included in your beautiful printed programs designed by Eddie Opara and his team at Pentagram. And yeah, Eddie's not here, but we should give him a round of applause anyway. And then first up in that list of speakers that you'll see there is one of tonight's co-chairs, a League board member, and a dear colleague, Karen Stein. So I'll invite Karen up now.
Thank you, Jacob. I can sincerely say I never thought I would be speaking in a cathedral. Good evening, everyone. Looking around the room tonight, as I'm having the pleasure of doing right now, you'll notice something striking: the incredible breadth of the architectural world gathered here. Principals of large firms, small offices, academic institutions, cultural organizations, people who in other settings might be seen as competitors, not only with one another, but perhaps even the Architectural League. And yet, here we all are at a sold-out event, all dressed up at a time when, for all that is going on in the world, some of us might prefer to be home in bed, or even hiding under the bed. Nonetheless, we are here together for a common purpose. That right there is the quiet magic of Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown. Whether you're a scholar or leading a design practice or teaching at City College, Yale, working at the Graham Foundation, the Van Allen Institute, the Cooper Hewitt, the Canadian Center for Architecture, and the list could go on and on. The breadth of this gathering reminds us of something profound. We haven't been competing for Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown's attention. We've been united by it. For decades, almost invisibly at first, Elise and Jeff have been our superglue, that beguiling substance that finds its way into all the nooks and crannies and holds everything just a little bit more firmly together, the superglue that makes the whole stronger. As you'll hear again and again tonight, Elise and Jeff have been generous in countless ways. But one of the most meaningful is the gift of their time and their genuine, sustained engagement with our work. They've shown up for lectures, for classes, to help edit films, at biennales, at book launches, site visits, you name it. I'd wager that they've attended more architecture-related events than just about anyone in this room. Over the years, they've been everywhere. But most importantly, they've been by our side, listening, encouraging, believing, questioning, cheering, and yes, occasionally kibitzing. Though the kibitzing, let's be honest, was more Jeff's department than Elise's. It hurts my heart that Jeff is not here with us tonight. But I believe, truly, that a piece of him lives on in the work of every person whose vision he and Elise have supported. And he's with Elise every step of the way as she continues the mission they started together and shared as one. Now let me say this, most of us here tonight don't mind a little recognition. Some of us might even seek out the spotlight from time to time. But there's one person in this room who does everything she can to avoid it. And she's made a rare and extraordinary exception to be here. Elise, my deepest thanks go to you. I hope it's not a breach of confidence to say that it took dear Elise a good long think before agreeing to accept this honor. She ultimately did so not out of a desire for applause, but frankly in spite of it. She's here because of her and Jeff's deep, long-standing commitment to the work of the Architectural League, and even more to the community it represents. She's here because of all of you. This stage isn't her comfort zone, but she will be stepping onto it anyway, because she's willing to do hard, even uncomfortable things for the people and causes she believes in. And that's the heart of it. There could be no better moment to celebrate two people whose shared work has, above all else, put principle before ego. That's not just admirable, that's leadership. In fact, that's absolutely presidential. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to invite Deborah Berke to the podium.
I think it's okay to have wine on the altar. Thank you, Karen. It's an honor to join you and the others in celebrating Elise Jaffe and remembering Jeffrey Brown for all they have done for architecture. What Elise and Jeffrey did and continue to do for the School of Architecture at Yale is without comparison. Their support has been strong, consistent, and quiet. They were not interested in the attention being on them. They wanted the attention to be on the work. There is literally no one among our donors and supporters at the school who has done as much as they did to support young faculty, faculty research projects, support publications, large and small, experimental and classically formatted, and support exhibitions, again, large and small, experimental and creative, expansive or intimate. Their generosity is legendary, and as Karen noted, so is their presence. They didn't just support the work, the exhibitions, and the publications, they participated. They were there for the openings, the book signings, and the presentations of research papers, and the classes. In fact, given the number of classes they attended, particularly Jeffrey and his devotion to Peter Eisenman's formal analysis, I don't think anybody took as many classes of that, probably not even Peter himself, and Elise's participation in some of our most popular advanced studios, like Tatiana Bilbao's studios on housing and domesticity in Mexico City. They might be the best, most attentive, and decidedly the students with the most perfect attendance record that the school has ever had. But I want to expand my toast of Elise and Jeffrey to beyond Yale. I want to celebrate with as big a hug as one can do from up here to Elise as a friend. If you need someone to talk to, someone kind, generous, sympathetic, understanding, calm, and completely 100% trustworthy, you talk to Elise. Despite living near Central Park, if you want someone to have a very cool dinner with downtown, you call Elise. If you want to go on an adventure or even think about an adventure, you exchange ideas with Elise. You happily introduce Elise to everyone you know. In fact, everyone you know, no matter where in the world they live, because you know that they will love her as much as you do. So on that note, on behalf of the Yale School of Architecture, and not only from my heart, but also from my husband's Peter's, I want to raise a glass, that's why I brought it up here, to Elise, and let you all know how much we love her, as I know you do too. Cheers, Elise. And now, Emanuel and Jen.
Thank you, Deborah. Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you, Mario and Jacob, for the invitation to speak this evening. It really is quite the honor to be up here in such company to celebrate Jeffrey and Elise. My name is Jen Wood, and I co-run a practice called Admassu together with Emanuel Admassu. We have not met Elise, hopefully later tonight, nor did we get the chance to meet Jeffrey. However, our young practice has been instrumentally shaped by them. Our installation for the 5th Chicago Architecture Biennial in 2023, in collaboration with the Bill Center, simply would not have happened without their support. The following year, we were thrilled to receive the Architectural League's Emerging Voices Award, a program that, as you know, is undergirded by their vision and generosity. These two moments have been for us very meaningful unto themselves. However, as you can imagine, they have also seeded subsequent opportunities that have further propelled our practice forward. At Admassu, part of our practice is dedicated to client-initiated work, mostly designing spaces for art, and we've been lucky to collaborate with incredible and thoughtful clients.
A significant part of our practice, though, operates outside of the traditional model. And we run a research-based practice that produces images, scholarship, and installations that are very much rooted in ideas from Black studies, African urbanism, and contemporary art practice. And we do this to really poke and pull at possible futures for the discipline. And for the past 3 decades, we believe that Elise and Jeffrey have been practicing a kind of faith, a belief that supporting heterogeneous practices within and outside the client-driven model is mutually beneficial for us all. We also feel compelled to note that we feel very moved to celebrate Elise and Jeffrey, their leadership, curiosity, and optimism in this particular political moment, a moment that can overarchingly be described in opposite terms. So on behalf of everyone in this room, but especially on behalf of emerging practices, thank you, Elise and Jeffrey, for your belief in our work, in the expansive potential of architecture, and for carving out space for us in our discipline's future. Thank you.
Thank you.
We invite Michael Maltzan to the podium.
These short talks don't usually have titles, but if there was one, it might be the outsized effect two individuals can have on architecture and the even larger commensurate effect they can have on the architect, which sounds a little bit like a college sociology paper, but it would also be true. An early connection with Elise and Jeff is from about 2000. I was starting out and had been picked to design the temporary MoMA exhibition space that would occupy a former stapler factory in Queens. While almost everyone was surprised that MoMA would decamp to what was then seen as less than exalted territory, Long Island City was by far the biggest stage I had ever been on, and honestly, it was a little terrifying. As we got closer to completion, Terry Riley began to hatch a plan to make a book about the project. It didn't seem possible that late in the game, but Terry said, Elise and Jeff will help. Words almost everyone in this room has either heard or more likely spoken. The way he said it made it sound like reinforcements were going to somehow parachute in to save us, just as things were looking particularly grim. And then, just as he promised, there they were, Elise and Jeff, bringing along with them a deep sense of curiosity, an abundance of the possible, and what we needed most, unflagging encouragement. From the moment we met, they made you feel an equal part of the community they were connected to, a community of people all trying to bring ambitious things into the world. They were so genuine in their interest around what a young architect was doing, and because of that, I remember thinking, you did belong in that world, which was a feeling and a gift that meant everything to me then and still does now. When Jeff and Elise started in their support of architecture, Bilbao hadn't happened, nor had the Tate Modern, the Maxi Museum, Ground Zero, the High Line, the New Museum, Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter. It's not to point out how long they, or many of us, have been around, but more to say that as much as the ideas, influences, forms, politics, and individuals in and around architecture have evolved and changed, Elise and Jeff's commitment to all of us has been constant and steadfast. From book projects to exhibitions to lecture series like Emerging Voices, which had a significant effect on so many of us at exactly the right time in our careers. They are there often when we need them most. In just the last few months, I saw Tatiana Bilbao in Milan, and we talked about Elise and Jeff. I saw Barry Bergdahl in New York, and Elise and Jeff came up. Guy Nordenson was in the office in Los Angeles, and we talked about Elise and Jeff. I was with Ray Ryan in Pittsburgh, and we talked about Elise and Jeff. They are in architecture like vitamins are in our food. Even when you don't see them, they are there, providing for us, making us stronger, more capable. If architecture had a cereal carton, they'd be listed on the front of the box as essential ingredients. They are the nourishment and the support that keep sustaining our ambitions, our desires, and our dreams over and over again. It's a common belief that our buildings and landscapes form the permanent record of architecture. But what if it's the opposite? What if what endures in architecture, what really lasts, are the instigations, the actions, the commitments of individuals like Elise and Jeff that affect the thinking, the trajectories of generations of architects? Thank you, Elise and Jeff. You have made architecture, its culture, its community better. And more personally, thank you for how much you have affected the life and the work of an architect. Thank you. I believe I'm inviting Mario next.
Thank you, Michael. So we've already heard so much about Elise and Jeff that perhaps I cannot add too much more, because I'm sure that most of us could also come up and add our remarks and our anecdotes. But as president of the Architectural League, it is my distinct pleasure to honor and to award this year's President's Medal to Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown. I first met Elise and Jeffrey nearly 20 years ago at one of the famous Yale School of Architecture Gerald Hines Bass Fellowship dinners at the Union League at the start of the fall 2005 semester when I was the Lewis Kahn visiting professor. I did not know much about Elise and Jeff at the time, but I would come to learn about their devotion and commitment to architecture, architectural education, and architectural practice during my 4 years at Yale. I would also come to learn of their immense generosity, support, and philanthropy to institutions and organizations promoting excellence in the design of the built environment. But as has already been said, you would never hear of their generosity from Elise and Jeff. Never to seek the spotlight or recognition, quietly, their work has supported a generation of practitioners and institutions, often at pivotal moments, and always with an eye towards where architecture and design needs to go next. And needless to say that the Architectural League, as well as our national and international architectural community, are exceedingly grateful to them. The reflections prompted by Jeff's untimely passing have only deepened our appreciation for the scope and significance of this shared project, of their shared project. In honoring Elise and Jeffrey, we honor not only what they have made possible, but also their consistent belief in what still lies ahead. Their unwavering curiosity and forward-looking generosity have not only shaped the field, they have offered us a model for the future. So I would like to now ask everyone that has been impacted by Elise and Jeffrey's work to please stand and join me in welcoming Elise to the podium. And now, if I can invite Elise to the podium. So, and now for the official citation. For more than 35 years, Elise Jaffe and Jeffrey Brown have shaped the landscape of contemporary architecture through a singular, deeply thoughtful, philanthropic project, one defined by quiet tenacity, intellectual rigor, and enduring generosity. Their support has played an essential role in the realization of countless studios, books, exhibitions, and prizes that have helped define architectural culture in the 21st century. Elise and Jeffrey have supported a generation of practitioners and institutions, often at pivotal moments and always with an eye towards where architecture needs to go next. In this work, they have embodied ideals the Architectural League holds dear, a dedication to creative and intellectual risk-taking, a belief in the necessity of critical discourse and public engagement, and a commitment to promoting a more equitable, imaginative, and responsive built environment. They have advanced architecture not as a finished product, but as an evolving field of possibilities in which new voices, forms, and futures are continually emerging. With deep admiration, the Architectural League is proud to award its 2025 President's Medal to Elise Jaffe and in memoriam Jeffrey Brown.
Mario, thank you. And thanks to all of you. I'm not sure how to deal with being super glue, vitamins, and an ingredient on a cereal box, but I'll work on it. I am truly humbled, honored, and proud to accept the President's Medal on behalf of Jeffrey and myself. When Jacob asked if I would accept this honor, he mentioned that the League Board had unanimously nominated us, but also believed I would refuse the honor. Perhaps Jeff would have. He always believed we should be under the radar. He felt there was no reason for anyone to know exactly what we did to connect the dots, so to speak. I said yes to honor Jeff, who, as all of you who knew him, know he came to really love, maybe even become obsessed with architecture. Please imagine Jeff standing next to me. He's wearing his grandfather's midnight blue shawl-collared tuxedo, his father's studs, and the bow tie that Bob Venturi gave him. He'd probably look a bit relieved that I was speaking and he didn't have to. Okay, he's not here in person, but definitely in spirit. Excuse me. I am so grateful to this community who has reached out with open arms and supported me this past year and a half. And it's true, hugs help. But thank you all. I also said yes to being honored tonight to acknowledge and show the deep respect Jeff and I shared for the individuals and the institutions we've supported. Yesterday, I had the great privilege of having lunch in Philadelphia with Elise Scott Brown. It seems very appropriate timing and kind of completes a circle. Jeff and I began our journey in architecture almost 3 decades ago when three things happened. We took a trip to the Midwest with MoMA to look at work by Frank Lloyd Wright. We met Bob Venturi and Denise Scott Brown and read Complexity and Contradiction, and we discovered the Architectural League. We became enthralled with architecture. Fast forward a bit, Jeff tells Bob Venturi he thinks he wants to be an architect. Bob puts his arm around Jeff's shoulder and says, "Jeff, the last thing this world needs is another 50-year-old white male architect." He said, "We'll find another role for you and Elise." Jeff and I became architectural patrons, and we began to invest in architecture. We developed a passion to support all aspects of architecture: education, research, publications, exhibitions, built and unbuilt projects. What we really were supporting, in fact, were people and their ideas. We realized that the Architectural League could take a small amount of support and stretch it. Our first exhibition was The Inflatable Moment. Charlotte Perrion's visit to New York City was our first lecture. We rapidly expanded our support to include the Current Work lecture series, and later the Young Architects Forum, now the League Prize, and Emerging Voices. We got involved with other institutions, museum exhibitions, catalogs, models, lecture series. We were meeting architects, visiting their offices and their projects, feeding our passion. We became immersed in this community of creative individuals who welcomed us. They shared ideas, provoked debates and discussions, engaged us, and grew with us. Jeff became a perpetual student of architecture. After the tutelage of Bob Venturi and Denise Scott Brown, he took seminars and studios with Peter Eisenman at Princeton and then at Yale. We met students and followed their paths through school and onward, and we stayed in touch with them as they pursued their projects and joined this vibrant community of which we've become a part. We loved this world we discovered and had the privilege and pleasure of supporting. We always believed we could make a difference for the people in the community we have come to admire, with timely support that allows construction to continue, the film editing to begin, or the exhibition to happen. I look forward to continuing to support projects that instigate debate and conversation as we move forward in these challenging times. When Jacob asked me about being honored tonight, I also told him that if I agreed to do this, we'd have to work to raise a lot of money for the League. So essential and so necessary in these times. And thanks to your generosity, as you've heard already, we did. So thank you. Thank you again for this amazing honor and for joining me this evening in supporting the Architectural League. Enjoy dinner.